Stevenson. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Eric. Yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. What is keeping you sane through lockdown with kids at home and all of that and working from home? What is keeping you sane?
Gin?
Just mildly toasted.
She says that, but I don't think I've actually had a drink in probably the last 3 weeks, maybe. But what's keeping? Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's really hard. I remember saying to my dad at the first lockdown, it's good because it's over summer, and before bubbles were created and all that, he could come and stand at the end of the driveway when he was out for a daily walk and have a natter, and he would sit in the wall and that was all good. And then we formed a bubble with them when bubbles were allowed. So that was good as well. But this time round, it's like, geez, it's dark, it's cold. Yeah. Nobody wants to go out walking. No. It's just like...
The only thing that we had was being able to go out for a nice walk in the summertime in shorts and a nice, a light shirt or whatever. Now it's like dismal snow. It just compounds the whole thing, doesn't it?
See, now even I'm jealous this morning. I can see just not that far out the road from me, there is proper snow. I quite like proper snow. This is just dismal.
I know, that stuff that gets dirty really quick. Exactly. Yeah. But you're doing well. You look as if you're in good spirits and you're keeping reasonably happy.
Yeah, I think it's just I suppose it's just my default setting. I think.
Yeah, quite right.
Do you know, we have no control over what's happening just now. I've just got to run with it. You take the punches. Some days are better than others. As good old Captain Tom said, tomorrow's another day and it'll be better. So we've just got to live by that motto in life. You don't know what's going to happen to you, when it's going to happen. You just got to get on with it, really.
Quite right too. So for those that don't know you, and you do know a lot of people, which is good. For those that don't know, you're based in Aberdeen. You are business manager with the Cost IP Limited. What's that all about? What do you do there?
Yeah, so I joined Acos when we began the business back in 2018.
Right.
I was approached. It's really funny because I didn't know that many people until I went to, I remember going to my first offshore Europe in, must have been 2016, and walking about like a headless chicken, knowing no one, like terrified. What is this all about? And 2 years later, it took me like an hour to go around one hall, never mind anything else, because I was bumping into loads of people I knew. And it's just amazing how quickly you can grow a network. But I landed the job, really. I was working for myself, and one of my ex-clients from when I worked in the bank, in the old and distant future.
Which we will go back to, yes.
When I worked there, Dorothy and her husband had been clients of mine, and we'd not really kept in touch. They'd been lovely clients, and I remember going out to see them at their house in Bankery. And we ended up doing a tender. We were part of a mutual clients tendering. And I'd said to Lou, I was like, is that Dorothy Burke of Bankery? And she went, that's really funny. Dorothy did the same as that. Catriona Stevenson that used to work for the bank. So I kind of reconnected from there. And we had a catch up, and she was telling me she'd been invited, she'd been asked to be the MD of a new subsea technology company. And she's and Mike's asked me who my first hire is going to be. And I was like, well, I know loads of people looking for jobs. What kind of thing are you looking for? And she went, no, I want you. And I was like, what?
What a lovely thing to hear.
What? And she said she just knew from the first time she met me, the first time I came to see her and Richard at the house, and she says you walked in and you weren't a stereotypical bank manager. She says you came in, you had the funky pair of shoes on, and she says you just weren't a stereotypical bank manager. And she's like, I always thought we might find a way to work together in the future. And that's kind of where I've landed. Doing a bit of everything: accounts, BD, HR, QHSE. I have my own boiler suit with my name on it.
Nice.
Delighted girl. Nice. So we've been to field trials. Yeah, it's been a ball. But the last 9 months have been bloody tough.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Show me someone apart from maybe people who are servicing all of this, in terms of like PPE and all that haven't had a tough time, and even their difficulties there too. So let's do it as we normally do, as we do on Crux Cast. Let's whiz back in the old time machine and go back to where it all started. So did you go to school in West Hill area, or
I did.
That's where you grew up?
My kids have gone to the same school. I remember when I went to register Kyle. So my eldest is 13. He's in second year at the academy now. But when I went to register him for primary school, I remember going to the desk to hand in the forms, and the lady at reception went, Catriona Stevenson. And I was like, well, yes. And it was the same receptionist from when I'd been at school. The dinner lady was still the same dinner lady. So yeah, the boys both went to Elric as I did. And then, my eldest has now gone on to the secondary school at Westhill, where friends of mine are now teachers, which is even more bizarre.
Crikey. So your maiden name's Strathdean.
Yes.
So you've just got northeastern roots just running all the way through the family DNA, right?
Yeah, Highland girl to heart though.
Highland, okay.
My dad grew up in Nethe Bridge, so I spent a lot of I class myself as a bit of both. I spent a lot of time up there. My grandparents lived up there, and we'd go up there sort of every second weekend. So that was kind of where my family were all big golfers. So I learned to play golf on the local wee 9-hole course at Nethe. The course was split between two halves of the road. So the third and the fourth were at one side and all the rest of the holes were on the other side. So my grand and I would go down and park at the outdoor centre of an evening and just play the third and the fourth back and forth.
Right, I got you.
And then as I got a little bit older and was able to hit the ball a little bit further, there's a war memorial. So there's the monument hole, which I think is the 8th from memory. And my grandest chum, Ray Barrett, who was the local driving instructor, used to bet me 50 pence that I couldn't hit from the top of the monument down to the green, and I would spend hours standing there hitting golf balls down to the green.
Get that 50 pence. Now, you managed to achieve more than 50 pence in golf in your life, did you not?
I did, yeah. I was quite competitive. I played more competitive golf than bounce game. I have a competitive nature at heart, I think. Right. So yeah, I did fairly well. I represented Scotland down at Turnberry. Not quite
just
so well.
Just chucking that one in. Just represented Scotland down at Turnberry.
Well, my brother went on to represent Scotland at La Manga in Spain, so it doesn't really it doesn't really match up these days.
Pretty good though.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then what happens? Life takes hold, and I think often particularly happens to women that play golf at that age, that life takes over and you get jobs and kids and family, and you pass it up for a while. So I had like a 15-year break and then came back. I've lost my hook. I don't have a hook anymore. I have a slight slice on the go these days, but yeah, it's it was definitely a passionate of mine. But I grew up, everybody played. My mum played. She was a lefty, but we all played golf, and it was great.
Outstanding. So, what was the dream when you were at school? What did you want to be? What was the path?
It's quite funny. I don't think I ever had a direction, and I think that's I want to say a regret of mine, but it's not so much a regret. But I think I wish I'd thought about it, and it's really funny because you know what your parents always said to you. You need to work hard at school so you get a good career. And I see myself doing that now to my boys. Yep. And Kyle, you need to have an idea of what you want to do in life.
What did you want to do, Mum?
Subjects. I'm 40, and I probably really still don't have an idea of what I want to do in life. But I think it's funny because my childhood friend said to me, I had a bit of a moment a number of years ago where I felt really lost. I was working for myself, and I felt really lost. And I remember my friend Sally saying to me, but you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve in life. And I think she remembered better than I did of what I'd set out. She said, you've got a house, you've got a nice car, you've got 2 kids and a husband. That's what you wanted in life. And I think at that point, then I had to go, right, so what's the next thing I want? Because I've achieved those bits, so I need a new goal. Because as I said, I don't think maybe necessarily when I was a kid, I really knew what I wanted to be. Yeah. It's a funny thing to ask you. We all joke about it, don't we? Where we say, oh, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up and I'm 40. Do you know what I mean? But I think often we ask our children to make decisions at a very early age about what they want to do and probably what direction they want to go in life, and we make them stay on that path. And I think they're very right when they say there's no wrong path, because I'm 40 and I've gone back to I'm at university now studying. So
and good for you, because I think my loads of people will disagree with this, that you should actually just get to a point where you just like relax and calm down. But I don't think we should stop learning about the world. There's so much advance and so many things changing, that there's so many great things. I mean, to put that in perspective from my own, I know this is all about you, and we'll get back to you in a sec. don't think I really found what I was supposed to do, or the thing that really harmonized with me. I started coaching people at age 49, and I found, I sort of looked in the mirror one day and went, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. So it took me to 49 years old to find my thing. So keep looking. It's fun. It's fun. You'll have a great time, and you'll pick up qualifications and experience along the way, and you'll find out what it is.
And if there's only so many bits as well that you go, I could write off that few months of my life, then do you know what I mean? If I end up with less months I want to write off than I want to live, then we're doing pretty well.
Absolutely. So what took you towards the bank or banks?
Yeah, I suppose I didn't, as I say, I didn't have that path of what I wanted to do. And one thing I probably did know I didn't want to do was go to university or college. And I think I was a fairly sensible child, and my mum was poorly. My mum and dad both worked for the NHS. So my dad was an engineer for every hospital round about here, apart from ARI. My dad looked after, kind of thing. And my mum was a mental health nurse. So my mum worked in the community with elderly people and things like that. So we weren't the richest of families, but I knew my brother wanted to be an architect, and that's 7 years of university. So I think I was a fairly sensible child at that point, said, you know, I'll just go and get a job. And by that point, I was actually with John, who's now my husband, and he'd gone off and done an apprenticeship and was working and earning money. And I kind of saw that and what he could spend at a weekend and thought, maybe want a slice of this. So I just started applying for various things, you know, office junior positions, stuff. And then I landed the role in the Clydesdale Bank. And I remember that it was the 1st of June, 98. And I got on a train to go to my training in Glasgow, having never been away from home on my own other than to go to grandparents' houses. And I cried all the way to Glasgow in a train. I'd never stayed in a hotel, Eric. I'd never stayed in a hotel.
Yeah.
And didn't know I could order room service. I went and sat in the restaurant in the evening. And the funniest part was getting off the train, Queen Street Station, and somebody said to me, just get in a taxi and tell them what hotel and they'll take you to where. Okay, so I get in over the taxi and I says to the guy, can you take me to Stackis Ingram? And he went, are you having a laugh? And I was like, no, sorry, is there a problem?
There.
And he went, it's just there.
I stood at the taxi rank in Queen Street there and looked across the street, and that's the building across the street.
I was like, I'm really sorry, I'll get out. And he was like, no, been to Glasgow before last, eh? And I was like, no. And he went, I'll take you. So he took me. He took me literally across the street in the taxi. And then he said to me, where are you going tomorrow? What are you here for? And I said, I'm here for a course. My course is at Hope Street. And he went, right. Up there, you don't need a taxi. No taxi needed. You can walk.
Yep, that's why they put you in this hotel. Yep.
Hang a left, and you'll be. I was like, all right, okay. He was just amazing. Took no money off me for his take me across the street.
That's just warms your heart, doesn't it? That's what we're supposed to be. I think as human beings, we're supposed to be those kind of like just helping hands. It's awesome.
Yeah, and from there, that was started a 15-year career in the bank. I became corporatized. I suppose is what I always used to say, that life felt safer on the inside than it did on the outside. So I stayed until they kicked me out through redundancy.
Right. Okay. The second person that I've had on the Crux Cast that started their career in the banks, Wendy Fleming. I don't know if you know Wendy. And did you have love for the bank and the banking world? And I mean, you got quite high up. You were a branch manager, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. And I do you know something? I did. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There were some days that sucked, but most jobs are like that, are they not? But I enjoyed my, I spent time. I worked I was a couple of years with the Clydesdale Bank, which weren't necessarily the best years, but I moved to Bank of Scotland after that, and they were amazing. And I moved around a few different branches, and then I became a mortgage advisor for a while, and I tripped around that. These are one of the jobs that you go, I shouldn't have done that one. I still lived at home with my parents. Why would I be advising people on mortgages? I didn't even have one. It seems crazy.
I love it.
And then I went out to balloted in Braemar, which was a real shock to the system. I mean, as I say, I classed Nettie Bridges home as a child, and that was a small town, but everybody knew everybody, and it's the same in Ballot and Braemar, and it took them a long time to accept me. And then I became almost like an honorary local.
Right.
And then I moved to, once I'd had Kyle, my eldest, I moved to private banking, and then I had my own portfolio clients. And I think that's when I probably got my first taste of business development, really, because I had a portfolio of my own clients that I looked after, I was responsible for. I got to know them, I got to know their families. I had this lovely little old man that stayed in St. Swithin Street that used to come and see me. And his main worry in life was, if something happened to me, what would my wife do? And I just said to him, here's a spare business card. And I know what you're like. I said, you must keep all your documents and your paperwork together. Yeah, I do. Right, you just put my business card in there. If something happens to you, you just tell your wife she has to phone me. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And it was there that I began to see building relationships with people was a much better way to do your job than to, try and be that salesperson that was cold-hearted and didn't care because they wanted to put a tick on the board to say they'd got a credit card that day. That wasn't me and never will be. It was about doing the right thing for my customers, really, and building a relationship with them.
I love that. So when you go into your profile, as everyone should, and have a wee look, you'll notice that you came out of the bank and clattered into or hooked up with someone who's very well known around these parts, Mr. Thor Holt. How did that come about?
Oh, that was the funniest thing, especially when at the time you've got a 6-year-old who was mad daft on the Avengers, and then you have a call with him in your car, and then you come off and he goes, Mummy, was that Thor?
It's actually Thor.
Yeah. So it was an old client of mine. And they say, when they say about 6 degrees of separation, so his parents were clients of mine originally, and it transpired they stayed in Garton, and my granda taught with his mum.
No way.
Just the bizarrest thing. Anyway, he knew through BNI, he knew Thor was looking for somebody to assist. And it's really funny. I found the job description the other day. I should share it with you. It's hilarious. He literally looks like he is looking for a second wife. He put on Gumtree, which was even more amusing. Looking for a personal assistant on Gumtree. It's absolutely, it's mint. But Ian put us in touch and said, he said, the only thing is he's only looking for 5 hours a week, and I know you need a bit. And I was like, yeah, I need a damn sight more than that.
Yeah.
And he said, but I think you could work well together. So we met at the local coffee shop here in West Hill, or the ice cream shop it is. And he started interviewing me. He said, I've never done an interview before, so I've taken some of these questions off the internet. As good old Thor does. And he's asking me these questions.
And look at where he is now.
Yeah, and so I upsold myself from 5 hours a week to 15 hours a week.
Nice job.
And do you know something? It was perfect. It was, my husband always says that I'm not the girl that left the bank. And I put a lot of that down to Thor and the confidence that he gave me, because I think the girl that left the bank didn't really know who she was or what she was, and would never have spoken at anything. And now I'm just the gobby cow that speaks at anything nowadays. But, it was really interesting. Thor taught me a lot about the business and people and building, growing on that building relationships piece. And I did work with his wife as well. I always say one of my funniest moments were Thor and I going to see the accountant in the morning, and Katie and I going underwear shopping in the afternoon to look at sports bras, because she was a personal trainer and was trying to build her own sports clothing line. Accountant in the morning, underwear shopping in the afternoon, and I was getting paid.
Sounds like a normal day for me. So
yeah, I had a great few years with Thor, and then sadly Aberdeen downturn hit, and 15-16, which was just horrendous for everyone. And I made the decision at that point to kind of walk away from the business. I'd been offered an opportunity somewhere else, which is 4 months of my life I will never get back. But it taught me a lot. And then, I set up on my own for a while, and I didn't really enjoy that. It's not for me. I'm not a solitary human being. So working on my own wasn't really fun. It was, so it was interesting. So it's taken a few years to kind of find my feet again, really.
Yeah, quite right. I've got a note here. Remember to ask Catriona about cars.
What do you want to know about cars, Eric?
I want to know where this fascination with so when we do, full disclosure, when we do one of these, we have a little 20 minutes with our guests just to frame it all up, and we scratch the surface and go a little bit deep. And we had a cool discussion about, what do you like, what are you into, and your answers were fantastic. I like golf, I like cars, and I like car restorations and rallies. And I thought that was fantastic. And yet you have to share the story about the car that's in the garage as well. So where did the fascination with cars and rallying start?
I grew up traipsing after my dad. He was an amateur photographer. I'm a real daddy's girl at heart. And we used to go to all the local rallies. I mean, my parents had gone to rallies years before I was born. And I think I was about 9 weeks old when they dumped me with my grandparents and went off to the Snowman Rally in Wales for a weekend.
Oh my God.
But so I grew up just standing on corners of, watching cars fly past and stuff like that. And I just, the noise of it was hilarious. John was watching a YouTube video the other day, or was watching something on Facebook, and I could hear it was a car and it was going round a track. And I went to him, that's Knockhill. And he was like, how do you know that? And I went, he's on the two corners just before the hairpin bend to take him back up over the finish line. He was like, oh my God, that is freaky.
Yeah, that is a bit freaky.
Yeah, so, we spend...
That's like Rain Man.
Well, it's a little like Rain Man, isn't it? I don't know. I think my mum's dad was a car mechanic as well. So there was always somebody doing something with cars round about me. Hilariously enough, my brother's not into cars at all. Gets them from A to B. Not interested.
By the way, just going back to what you said about your brother earlier, did he make it as an architect?
He sure did. Yes, he works. Him and his wife are both architects. So
outstanding.
David works for Kerry Smith Architects in Montrose, and my sister-in-law Alison set up her own business. So they're both architects, which is pretty cool. So
you're into cars, he's not.
Yeah, no.
Did you ever actually rally yourself or get a shot around tracks and stuff like that?
No, my 21st I spent at Knockhill. I had a day's track driving for my 21st, but I've never driven a rally car yet. I mean, I drive my own cars like they're rally cars, but that road to Ballater is a great road, and it can be done in 32 minutes from Ballater to West Hill.
If anyone from law enforcement is watching this, she's clearly just having a laugh. It's just a joke.
Clearly.
Just a joke.
A 1.2 up GTI doesn't go that fast.
Talk us through the Mark 1 that's in the garage.
Yeah, so there's a wee special Mark 1 GTI in the garage. We bought it a year or so, I think, after Reese was born. So we've probably had it for about 6 years now, 5-6 years. Was never meant to be a project, if we're honest. But then
was it in bad shape?
No, it was good. It was all right. Yeah, he drove it home from Finhorn.
Right.
Wasn't a problem. And then he went to MOT at the following year and found that the sills were rusty, and then we had started cutting bits out. I have a hole in the bottom of my trainers where I held on a panel while he tack welded it from the other side, and it burned through the whole of my trainers.
I love it. So that, what year is that one?
It's a 1983. So
1983 Golf enough. GTI with the tartan is it Recaro seats?
Yep. And BBS alloys.
BBS alloys.
Just the dream. Just
for all the car fanatics.
It needs a respray. If anybody ever wants to fund a respray for us, that would be amazing.
That would be a result. Anyone out there who wants to respray, any golf fanatics? Yep.
John did wonder if he should feign an illness for a while. We're big fans of Car SOS with Tim Shaw and Townsend, and he was like, "Wonder if I could get myself on there." I was like, "I think I'd rather pay for a respray than an illness."
Yeah, exactly. Let's not have like awful illnesses to try and get resprays. Exactly. So that's fantastic, and I guess this thing about cars isn't going to go away. That's going to stay with you.
No, we've had a fair few. I mean, John's had a lot more than me, but we've had a fair few cars between us. Although I think my current one will stay a while. I bought an up GTI a couple of years ago, and it's the closest thing you can get to a modern day Mark 1 Golf.
Right.
And it's just amazing. It's a little pocket rocket, full tartan seats, red dash. It's amazing. I love it.
A little tribute car. I think it's ace. Now, anyone who's watching this and anyone that knows you will know that you've got a huge, big personality. Your LinkedIn headline is one of the best I've ever seen. I love it. Sunshine mixed with a little bit of hurricane. In fact, that's going to be the title for this one because it's just perfect. Lockdown has kicked the stuff out of even the most positive people and given us all testing times and all of that. Let's look at the dark and the light here. What's when you look out from where you are, even with your positivity, what worries you about what's happening today and what might happen in the future? What concerns do you have?
I have concerns about our children. And this is hugely
excellent answer.
I think it hugely comes from homeschooling two boys and seeing, the trials and tribulations, and teachers are doing an amazing job, but it's just not the same as being in a classroom and having somebody show you what to do. So I have, if I could write the rule book, I'd ask them all to resit this year. I think they've missed an entire year, even the brief spells they've got back to school and things like that. They've missed an entire year of education. I think they should all stay back a year and scratch out 2020 and just think, it was a blip and let's do something more positive for our children. But I think I worry about lots of things for the future for them. Never mind obviously the big chunk to their education this year, but the tax that they'll have to pay in the future to pay for the fact their mother sat on furlough for almost a year, and the mental health challenges of that. And gosh, we're looking at the UK now, over 100,000 people dead. There's families and people and children that don't get. I mean, I'm so lucky. I had two grandparents until just 3 years ago, and I've still got my granda. He's 90. But there are lots of children now that will grow up without parents, grandparents, as a result of this, this terrible, horrible illness.
When you think back, I think your point about children is that I've got a 16-year-old sitting next door, pretending to be working.
Okay, and pretending to be okay, probably. And
pretending to be okay as well, yeah. But he's on a laptop trying to do higher physics. It's like there's something, as much as I support what he's doing,
doing experiments and trying to wire plugs and stuff like that we did when we did higher physics.
Yeah, totally. But and he's trying hard. He's a good lad. He goes to a good school, and they're trying really, really hard. But I do worry that it's like a tenth of what they were getting before.
Yeah.
So how do they stand a chance? I do worry about them. But also that I was thinking about this the other day for friends of mine that have sort of younger children that have only a memory of social distancing, isolation, masks, nothing being open, having to keep away from people, not being allowed into people's houses and all of that. That whole year of that and variants of that has had a lasting impact on, and who knows what's around the corner with variants coming. And
Reese is 7 years old, and he can reel off the entire fax advert to you like that, just almost verbatim, because he knows it so well. And I think there'll be a lot of stuff that they've missed. But even children not being able to hug and hug grandparents and things that we take for granted. I mean, my niece turned 18. She's 18 months now. She turned a year old last year, and we didn't even get to it. I think I've seen her since she was born. I think I've seen her maybe a dozen times at most. I've maybe held her 2 or 3 times, and they just won't be used to being held by strangers. We're strangers. We're not the same when you're at the end of an iPad, are you?
I know, totally not. Lots of things that have still yet to play out properly and allow us to fully understand how they're going to play out. But we're all going to do our best for our kids, right, and make sure that we're there for them and all of that. So that's the dark side. The light side, what good do you see coming out of this, Gina?
I know people in my street that I'd never spoken to. I've met some wonderful people over lockdown. Mr. Doyle to be included in that as well.
Voila.
I've reached out and spoken to people that I've never spoken to. I've been in my house now for 15 years. There's a lady around the corner, Martha, who's in her 80s, lives on her own, and we just knew her that we used to know her house as Blackpool Illuminations because she's got lots of lights and there's always this great big spotlight. Martha delivers baking to my front door nowadays. We exchange books back and forth. When we had the snow the other week out, Reese and I were around and cleared her driveway, and I know neighbours now that I didn't know before, and I've seen
an enhanced kind of sense of community
in people.
An enhanced sense of community, and people. I notice it. We stay in an apartment, and when I'm out walking the dog, I know that it's like people want to connect with you facially and have a smile and have a little chat, even at distance and all that. It's like, I need to do this, whereas I might have walked past you before. I need this little interaction. I need it. Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was a kid and we used to walk to the shops, which are not that far away, but we used to walk to the shops, and everybody used to say morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
And then there was this whole phase where we kind of put your head down as you pass one another. And now you're right. People haven't spoken to anybody else. They've been in their own home and maybe only been with 2 other people, and all of a sudden they're out for a walk and they're dying for somebody different just to even say hello.
I know. I've got into this. I'm sharing this with you because today I had a breakthrough. There's a lady that when I take the dog for a walk in the morning at the same time every morning, she's clearly walking to work, and she walks through where we live. Yeah. And every single day for about 3 weeks, I've said good morning and give her a little wave, and she gives me a really, really stern look.
Oh,
and she keeps walking. Face. Absolutely. She just looks at me like, how dare you, and keeps walking with her hands. But I'm not going to give up. So every morning for 3 weeks, she comes to walk past, and she's about 10 feet away, and I go, morning. And I raise my hand, and she scowls, and she keeps her hands in her pockets, and she just shuffles on. And this morning I got a nod. No smile, no nothing, but we have a breakthrough.
It's progress.
We have a breakthrough. I actually did a little fist bump when she walked away. Come on, I'm gonna get a hello and a chat out of you. We're gonna be friends.
Love it. Just shows you. Is it not like when you're weaning your kids and you've got to make them try something 10 times before they like it? This
totally.
is
Yummy broccoli, yummy.
We will like Eric whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not, yeah, exactly. So an enhanced sense of community is a lovely thing. That's brilliant. Listen, I think that's the fact that communities are coming together. The fact that, what was the name of your neighbour? Is it Martha? Martha. I want to try her baking one day.
Amazing. She's American and her dad was a baker, so it's amazing.
Cool. So we've met, we've had a Crux Cast together, we've formed a socially bonded relationship. We keep bumping into each other on Clubhouse nowadays and stuff like that, which is cool. So it's awesome. So we'll keep that going. I'm going to tag you in so that people can know how to get in touch with you, because you've said maybe a few things that there might be a few touch points for people to touch in there. And you love a conversation, do you not?
I do love a conversation. I just love people. Don't know, there's something special about people and learning about people, and everybody's got such an interesting past, and they always say that you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Well, you don't know unless you ask. So it's nice, and just now I think it's even more important to ask if everybody's okay. So yeah, connect in. Happy to have a chat with anybody anytime.
Brilliant. Catriona, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon.